Here's everything that just happened at the trade deadline. Of course, starting with Luca. The Mavericks sent Luca, along with Maxi Kleber and Morris, to Los Angeles in exchange for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. The Jazz got Jalen Hood-Schifino and 2 second-round picks in 2025. This is a trade that completely changes the Western Conference. The Lakers went all in on Luca because he's an absolute offensive machine. He's averaging 28.1 points, 8.3 rebounds, and 7.8 assists this season. His career scoring average of 28.6 points per game is the highest for any player traded since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1975. The front office wanted a superstar to pair with LeBron James, and they got one. Luca gives them an elite scorer, playmaker, and a player who's still in his prime. They knew losing Davis would hurt, but when you have the chance to get a generational talent like Luca, you take it. Dallas made this move because they wanted defense. Davis is one of the best defenders in the league and is averaging 25.7 points and 11.9 rebounds. The Mavericks front office believed Luca's conditioning was a long-term concern, and they wanted a player who fits better with Kyrie Irving. Davis is a 10-time All-Star, a 5-time All-NBA selection, and an NBA champion. They're betting that his size, shot blocking, and versatility will make them better on both ends of the floor. Utah got involved to grab some draft picks and a young prospect. Hood-Schifino hasn't done much yet, but the Jazz are looking at the long game. Those 2 second-round picks give them more assets to build with, and they didn't have to give up anything major to get them. Simple move, smart move. This is a trade that will be talked about for years. But then we can talk about the Fox trade. San Antonio brought him in alongside Jordan McLaughlin, sending Zach Collins, Trey Jones, and a first-round pick to Chicago, while Sacramento landed Zach LaVine, Sidi Sissoko, and a massive haul of picks. This is a trade that shifts the entire Western Conference. The Spurs got exactly what they needed, a dynamic point guard to pair with Victor Wembanyama. Fox is averaging 25 points, 6.1 assists, and 5 rebounds this season, and he's already been an all-star and an all-NBA player. He's an elite scorer and playmaker, and now he gets to run the floor with one of the most dominant young bigs in the game. San Antonio managed to pull this off without giving up key young players like Stephon Castle, Jeremy Sochin, or Keldon Johnson, and they kept veterans Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes. They're ready to take a major step forward. Sacramento is taking a big swing by adding LaVine. He's putting up 24 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 4.5 assists per game while shooting a career best 44.6% from deep and 51.1% overall. Pairing him with Domantas Sabonis and reuniting him with DeMar DeRozan gives the Kings another high-level scoring option. Plus, they loaded up on draft picks. They got first-rounders in 2025, 2027, and 2031, plus 3 second-round picks. The Bulls made a solid move by getting Collins, Huerter, and Jones, plus another first-round pick. Huerter has averaged 11.5 points in his career and should have a bigger role. Collins and Jones weren't putting up big numbers with the Spurs, but Chicago is reshuffling their roster and adding valuable pieces. San Antonio just got their franchise point guard. Then we can move back to Dallas. The Mavericks received Caleb Martin. The Sixers got Quentin Grimes and a 2025 second-round pick in a trade that helps both teams fill key needs. Dallas made this move to add more playoff experience and versatility on the wing. Martin is averaging 9.1 points and 4.4 rebounds, while shooting 40.1% from deep in his postseason career. He played a huge role in Miami's run to the 2023 NBA Finals, proving he can step up when it matters. His ability to defend multiple positions and hit big shots makes him a perfect fit, alongside Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis. Philadelphia made the trade to add shooting and youth. Grimes is putting up 10.2 points and 3.8 rebounds this season, while knocking down a career best 39.8% from 3. He's only 24 and still improving, which makes him a great long-term piece. Plus, they got their own second-round pick back, giving them more flexibility for future moves. The Mavs had been in contract talks with Grimes, but they weren't close on a deal. He wanted a contract starting at $12.8 million per year, while Dallas saw him in the same range as Najee Marshall, who signed for 3 years and $27 million. Instead of losing him for nothing, they flipped him for a proven playoff performer in Martin. Dallas gets immediate help for a deep playoff run. But then we can go to OKC. The Thunder received Daniel Tice and a 2031 second-round pick. The Pelicans got cash considerations in return in a move that helps both teams in different ways. Oklahoma City made this trade to add depth and grab another draft asset. Tice has played in 38 games this season, averaging 4.3 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 1.6 assists in 16.3 minutes per game. He's been a solid rotational big throughout his 8-year career, putting up 7.1 points and 4.7 rebounds per game. The Thunder aren't relying on him for major minutes, but he gives them another experienced frontcourt option and insurance for the playoffs. On top of that, they now own 2 second-round picks in 2031, giving them more flexibility for future trades. New Orleans made this move purely to clear salary and avoid the luxury tax. Tice was on an expiring contract worth $2.1 million, and moving him saves them money without sacrificing a key player. Their season hasn't gone as planned, and keeping Tice didn't make sense when they could offload his contract and get cash in return. Oklahoma City gets another pick and a veteran big, while the Pelicans save money and move on. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day during the season. I'd genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, the trades. But then we can go to Boston. The Celtics received a 2031 second-round pick. The Rockets got Jaden Springer, a 2027 second-round pick, and a 2030 second-round pick in a move that helps both teams in different ways. Boston made this trade purely to save money. Springer was making just over $4 million this season, but because of luxury tax penalties, keeping him would have cost them around $16 million. By trading him, the Celtics save $15.4 million in tax penalties and free up 2 roster spots for potential signings. They weren't using Springer much, as he only averaged 5.4 minutes per game in 26 appearances. With Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Peyton Pritchard already in the backcourt, there was no clear path for him to get more playing time. Houston made the move to add a young, defensive-minded guard. Springer is only 22 and has shown flashes of being a strong perimeter defender. He had his best game with Boston in a win over the Clippers, where he put up 8 points and 4 steals in 20 minutes. He fits well with Houston's gritty style under head coach Udoka and will have a much better chance at earning playing time with the Rockets. Boston clears cap space, while Houston adds a young defender with potential. And then we'll look at some big trades. First, the Bucks. The Bucks received Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., Jericho Sims, and a second-round pick. The Wizards got Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, and a 2028 first-round pick swap, while the Knicks added Delon Wright and cash considerations in a trade that shakes up multiple rosters. Milwaukee made this move to get younger and more flexible with their roster. Kuzma is averaging 15.2 points and 5.8 rebounds this season and brings size and versatility to the Bucks' frontcourt. He's not the most efficient shooter, hitting just 28% from 3 this season, but he gives Milwaukee another scoring option next to Giannis and Damian Lillard. His contract is also structured to drop in value each season, making it more manageable for the Bucks' cap situation. By moving Middleton, they now have more flexibility under the second apron, which allows them to make more moves down the line. Washington took on Middleton's contract and added a promising rookie in Johnson while also getting a first-round pick swap in 2028. Middleton, a 3-time All-Star and key part of Milwaukee's 2021 championship, has been struggling with injuries, limiting him to 12.6 points per game this season. The Wizards are betting that he can bounce back and provide leadership for their young roster. Johnson has spent most of the season in the G League, but is still just 20 years old with plenty of potential. New York jumped in to move right and pick up some cash. Sims gives Milwaukee a solid depth piece at center, while the Knicks clear a roster spot and get financial flexibility. The Bucks add a younger wing, the Wizards take a chance on Middleton, and the Knicks make a simple cap move. But then we'll go to Golden State. The Warriors received Jimmy Butler. The Heat got Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, PJ Tucker, and a protected first-round pick, while the Pistons landed Lindy Waters and Josh Richardson, and the Jazz added Dennis Schroeder in a blockbuster deal that completely reshapes Golden State's roster. Golden State made this trade to add another elite two-way star next to Curry. Butler has been one of the best clutch players in the league, averaging at least 20 points per game in each of the last 4 seasons before this one. He's not having his best year, putting up 17 points per game, but he's still a tough, physical defender and a proven leader. The Warriors needed another dependable scorer to take pressure off Curry, and Butler gives them exactly that. He's also signing a 2-year, $111 million extension, keeping him in Golden State through 2027. Miami finally ended the Butler saga after suspending him multiple times this season. He clashed with the front office and was unhappy with his role, so they decided to move on. In return, they got Wiggins. who's averaging 17.6 points per game and is still an excellent defender, along with Anderson and Tucker, two versatile forwards who fit their defensive-minded system. They also picked up a first-round pick, which gives them flexibility for future moves. Detroit made a simple move by taking on Waters and Richardson, two depth pieces who give them more perimeter shooting. Meanwhile, Utah grabbed Schroeder, who can provide veteran leadership and playmaking for a young squad. Golden State lands another star. Miami moves on from the drama, and multiple teams shuffle their rosters before the deadline. But then the Sixers. The Wizards received Reggie Jackson and a 2026 first-round pick. The Sixers got Jared Butler and 4 second-round picks in a deal that helps both teams in different ways. Washington made this move to add a veteran point guard and another first-round pick for their rebuild. Jackson hasn't had a great season, averaging just 4.4 points on 39.1% shooting, but he gives the Wizards another experienced ball handler. The first-round pick they received will be the least favorable among the Thunder, Rockets, and Clippers, but adding any first-rounder is valuable for a rebuilding team. Philadelphia made this trade to stack up more draft capital and bring in Butler, a promising young guard. Butler is averaging 6.9 points and 2.6 assists in just 11.3 minutes per game, shooting 48.3% from the field and 36.6% from deep. He's been one of Washington's better players in a tough season and should get a real shot in Philly. The Sixers also grabbed 4 second-round picks, including the most favorable pick between the Warriors and Suns in 2027, and another favorable pick between the Suns and Blazers in 2030. Washington adds a first-rounder, Philly loads up on picks, and Butler gets a fresh start. But let's stay in Philly. The Pistons received KJ Martin, a 2027 second-round pick from Milwaukee, and a 2031 second-round pick from Dallas. The Sixers got cash considerations in a move that helps both teams with their priorities. Detroit made this trade to take advantage of their cap space and add future assets. Martin is averaging 6.4 points and 3 rebounds in 20 minutes per game this season, but has been sidelined with a foot injury since Christmas. He's only 24 on an $8 million contract that's non-guaranteed for next season and could either be a long-term piece or get flipped in another deal. The Pistons are also grabbing 2 second-round picks, continuing to stockpile future assets while staying flexible. Philadelphia made the move for pure salary cap relief. With the new tax rules tightening spending, the Sixers needed to move Martin's contract to create more financial flexibility. Instead of taking back a player, they got cash considerations, which helps them maneuver ahead of the deadline. Detroit gets a young forward and more draft capital, while Philly clears space. But let's get to another big trade. The Raptors received Brandon Ingram. The Pelicans got Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, a 2026 first-round pick from the Pacers, and a 2025 second-round pick in a deal that gives both teams a new direction. Toronto made this move to add a proven scorer who can help them compete. Ingram is a 6'8" forward who's averaged more than 20 points per game in 6 different seasons. He struggled with injuries, missing over 30 games 3 different times, including this season with a left ankle sprain. But when he's healthy, he's one of the best shot creators in the league. He's in the final year of his contract, so the Raptors will have to decide if they want to give him a long-term deal. But for now, they've added a legitimate offensive weapon. New Orleans made this trade to reshape their roster and prepare for the future. They get Brown, who helped Denver win a championship and is averaging 8.4 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 1.6 assists this season. Olynyk is putting up 7 points, 3.6 rebounds, and 2.3 assists, while giving them another versatile big man. Most importantly, they land a first-round pick in 2026 and a second-rounder in 2025, adding more flexibility for future deals. Toronto gets a scoring star, New Orleans adds depth and future assets. But now, let's go to the Lakers. The Lakers received Mark Williams. The Hornets got Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, an unprotected 2031 first-round pick, and a 2030 pick swap, in a move that gives both teams what they need. Los Angeles made this trade to add a young, athletic center who fits perfectly alongside Luca. Williams, a 7-foot shot blocker and lob threat, is averaging 16 points on nearly 60% shooting and 9.8 rebounds this season. The Lakers had been searching for a big man to pair with Luca, and Williams provides the vertical spacing that makes life easier for an elite playmaker. He's also just 23, meaning he can grow alongside Luca while still contributing immediately. The Lakers gave up a lot this week, including Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and now Connect, but they've retooled their roster for the future while keeping LeBron James in win-now mode. Charlotte made this move to grab young talent and draft capital. Connect, the 17th overall pick last summer, was one of the best shooters in the draft and had shown flashes of scoring ability early in the season. Reddish has struggled with consistency, but he's still a 6'7" wing with the defensive upside. The real prize is the unprotected first-round pick in 2031, plus a pick swap in 2030, giving Charlotte more long-term assets as they continue their rebuild. The Lakers get their starting center. The Hornets stockpile future assets, and both teams move toward their next phase. But let's go back to Toronto. The Heat received Davion Mitchell. The Raptors got PJ Tucker, a future second-round pick, and cash considerations in a move that gives both teams flexibility. Miami made this trade to add a defensive-minded guard as they reshaped their roster after trading Jimmy Butler. Mitchell, the 9th overall pick in 2021, is a strong perimeter defender who can bring toughness to Miami's backcourt. He started 22 games for Toronto this season and is averaging 6.3 points and 4.6 assists on 43% shooting. His scoring has dropped since his rookie season, when he put up 11.5 points per game, but Miami believes he can thrive in their system with more opportunity. Toronto made the move to clear roster space and add more assets. Tucker has now been traded 3 times in the past 5 days, and he's unlikely to stay with the Raptors, meaning a buyout could be coming. The real value in this trade for Toronto is the future second-round pick and the cash they received, giving them more flexibility as they continue to reshape their team after acquiring Brandon Ingram. The Heat get a tough defensive guard, and the Raptors pick up another asset while likely moving on from Tucker. But then we can go back to the Bucks. The Bucks received nothing. The Spurs got Patrick Baldwin Jr. and cash considerations in a move that helps both teams in different ways. Milwaukee made this trade purely to clear a roster spot. Baldwin was briefly part of the franchise after being included in the Kyle Kuzma-Chris Middleton trade, but the Bucks never planned to keep him. By sending him to San Antonio, along with cash, they free up a roster spot that could be used for a future signing or buyout addition. San Antonio took Baldwin as a low-risk move. The former first-round pick has appeared in 91 career games, shooting 36.6% from 3. He hasn't had a consistent role in the NBA, but the Spurs have time to evaluate him and see if he fits their development plans. The Bucks create roster flexibility, and the Spurs take a flyer on a young shooter. But then let's go to the Suns. The Suns received Cody Martin, Vasilije Micic, and a 2026 second-round pick. The Hornets got Jusuf Nurkic and a 2026 first-round pick in a move that reshapes both rosters. Phoenix made this trade to improve their perimeter defense and gain more flexibility. Martin, a 6'6" wing, is a strong point-of-attack defender who routinely guards the opposing team's best scorer. He's not a great shooter, hitting just 31.9% from 3 for his career, but his defensive versatility makes him a valuable addition. Micic, a former EuroLeague star, hasn't had a major role in the NBA, but he gives the Suns another ball handler and playmaker. His contract has an $8 million team option for next season, so Phoenix has flexibility moving forward. Charlotte made this move to grab a first-round pick and add size. Nurkic, a 7-foot center, is averaging 8.6 points and 9.2 rebounds per game. He was frustrated with his role in Phoenix and had been moved to the bench before his last game on January 7th. He's under contract for one more season at $18.1 million, but Charlotte is betting that he can still be a productive big man. The real value for the Hornets is the 2026 first-round pick, which adds another key asset for their rebuild. Phoenix strengthens their defense, Charlotte adds size and a future first. But then the Cavs made a great move. The Cavaliers received DeAndre Hunter. The Hawks got Caris LeVert, George Niang, 3 second-round picks, and 2 pick swaps in a deal that strengthens Cleveland's roster while giving Atlanta financial flexibility. Cleveland made this move to add a reliable scoring forward without giving up a first-round pick. Hunter is having his best season yet, averaging 19 points per game while shooting a career-high 39.3% from deep. His ability to play both forward positions gives the Cavaliers much-needed versatility, especially in the playoffs. They were already the best team in the Eastern Conference, and now they've added another weapon without losing an essential rotation player. LeVert was a capable shot creator, but in the postseason, Cleveland's offense will run through Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley. so his role was likely to shrink anyway. Niang was struggling defensively, so moving him clears a spot for more effective options. Atlanta made the move to save money and reset their roster. Hunter had 2 more years left on his deal, and while he was playing well, the team is struggling. With Jalen Johnson out, they've gone 1-9 in their last 10 games, and moving Hunter doesn't help their chances of turning things around. They get LeVert, who is on an expiring contract, and Niang, who has 1 year left, plus 3 second-round picks and 2 pick swaps. Those assets could be useful in future trades, but they didn't get a first-round pick or a young player in return, which lowers the overall value of the deal. Cleveland adds a high-level scorer without sacrificing a first-rounder, while Atlanta gains financial flexibility but weakens their roster in the short term. But then we got to stay in Atlanta. The Hawks received Terrence Mann and Bones Highland. The Clippers got Bogdan Bogdanovic and 3 second-round picks in a trade that gives both teams a new look. Atlanta made this move to add younger, more versatile players while saving money. Mann is a solid two-way guard who brings defensive toughness and energy. He's averaging 9 points per game this season and has been a key role player for the Clippers over the past few years. Highland adds scoring depth, though his role in Los Angeles had diminished. He's averaging 6.6 points per game, but has shown flashes of being a dynamic offensive threat when given minutes. By trading Bogdanovic, Atlanta also clears some long-term salary, giving them more flexibility moving forward. Los Angeles made this trade to add another proven scorer for their playoff push. Bogdanovic is averaging 17 points per game this season and is shooting nearly 40% from deep. He gives the Clippers another perimeter threat alongside Kawhi Leonard and James Harden. While they gave up 3 second-round picks, they're in win-now mode, and Bogdanovic's scoring ability makes them even more dangerous in a loaded Western Conference. The Hawks get younger and more flexible, while the Clippers add another shooter for their championship run. But once again, let's stay in Atlanta. The Hawks received nothing. The Rockets got Cody Zeller and a 2028 second-round pick in a move that helps both teams in different ways. Atlanta made this trade purely to clear a roster spot and offload Zeller's contract. The veteran center hadn't played a single game for them this season, so moving him was all about freeing up flexibility. To make the deal happen, they attached a second-round pick in 2028, ensuring Houston would take on the contract. Houston made the move to add a future pick while taking on Zeller's salary. The veteran big man likely won't have a role in their rotation, but for a team with cap space, adding an asset for minimal cost makes sense. Atlanta opens a roster spot. Houston grabs another pick. But then let's go back to the Bucks. The Clippers received MarJon Beauchamp. The Bucks got Kevin Porter Jr. in a 1-for-1 trade that gives both teams a fresh look. Los Angeles made this move to add a young athletic wing with defensive upside. Beauchamp, a former first-round pick, has shown flashes of potential, but hasn't carved out a consistent role in Milwaukee. He's averaging 5.8 points per game this season and brings length, versatility, and energy on the defensive end. The Clippers are betting that he can develop into a valuable piece in their rotation while also moving on from Porter. Milwaukee made this trade to take a chance on Porter's scoring ability. He's been a dynamic offensive player in the past, averaging 19 points and 5.7 assists just 2 seasons ago. However, concerns about his consistency and off-court issues have made his future uncertain. The Bucks are hoping a change of scenery and a structured system alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard will help him maximize his potential. The Clippers add a young wing with defensive upside, while the Bucks take a gamble on a talented but unpredictable scorer. But then, go to Memphis. The Wizards received Marcus Smart, Colby Jones, Alex Len, and a first-round pick. The Kings got Jake LaRavia, while the Grizzlies picked up multiple second-round picks in a trade that benefits all 3 teams. Washington made this move to add veteran leadership and future assets. Smart, a former Defensive Player of the Year, brings toughness, experience, and strong playmaking to their backcourt. He's averaging 14 points, 4.2 rebounds, and 5 assists this season, and will be a key defensive presence. They also add Jones, a promising young guard, and Len, a solid backup center. On top of that, they land a first-round pick, further strengthening their rebuild. Sacramento made the trade to add LaRavia, a young wing with upside. He hasn't played a major role in Memphis, but has shown flashes of being a strong 3-and-D player. The Kings believe he can develop into a valuable rotation piece while keeping their core intact. Memphis made the move to create roster flexibility while stacking up future draft capital. Trading Smart and LaRavia allows them to clear space, and in return, they receive multiple second-round picks, which can be used in future deals or to add young talent. Washington secures veteran leadership and a future first. Sacramento bets on LaRavia's potential, and Memphis stockpiles draft assets. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during this season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.